Well, hello everyone. We will wait until everybody comes and join us on the live. And yeah, so perfect. Hi everyone, this is Nush from Formalu, and I'd like to welcome you on this live demo webinar. We decided to go live today for our ProductHunt launch, which is live right now, and you can go check out the ProductHunt website and find the Startup 101 application that is made with Formalu and support us. So in this webinar, I'd like to we want to show you how you can create such an application like Startup 101 and how startups can use this application and how startups can grow and contribute to each other and collaborate with each other and use these applications, the mentors, the different parts of the community to grow their startups and their products. Perfect. So let's begin. I'd like to introduce Farouk Shahobi to the stage, and we can start the webinar right away. Perfect. Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you doing? So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm very excited because we are launching a new version of a Startup 101 today, the 2023 version with 10 new courses, a lot of new mentors, a lot of new contributors. And I want to really thank all the founders, indie makers, and the entrepreneurs who joined us in the past 10 months. Right now, more than 2,000 entrepreneurs joined the Startup 101 journey, and they are trying the courses and join the community. In today's webinar, we want to talk about a few things. The first and the most asked question is this: what is the first steps of launching a startup? What is the first thing that you should do? And more important than that, what are the things that you should not do when you want to start a startup? Because in most cases, the things that founders do are the wrong thing for the start. In most cases, they are focusing on the things that they should not be really focusing at the moment. They should be focusing on those later on, but because of how we work and some expectations, we are focusing on the wrong things when we don't need to focus. We want to talk about those things. As always, we have a Ask Me Anything section in our webinar. So you can ask all of the questions, and also we gathered all of the questions that is asked in the different platforms that we are doing AMA today. And we are live on AMA in a stand, in ProductHunt, in Reddit, and I will answer all of those questions as well. So don't worry if you ask a question someplace else. And we talk about how we can leverage what we basically are using today to launching our startup. So let's go to the most important question. What should be our focus when we are starting a startup? Should our focus be on the product? Should our focus be on the business model? And should our focus be on something else? For example, raising money. For example, hiring new people, registering a company, or something else. In most cases, the answer to all of those questions is no. When a startup starts, it's not that you have to a lot of things at the same time, because startups, by definitions, are not definitive. They are changing as soon as possible. So they are disruptors. And those changes means that the things that you might know and the things that worked in other businesses might not work here. All the skills, all the experiences, and all the rules that we define for ourselves, the status quo that we define to ourselves, might not work in the startup world. So what should we start? What should we start with? What should be our focus with when we are starting a new journey, a new business? The most important thing in every startup is that, by definition, again, we don't know if our idea is working or not. Maybe it will fail. So the first thing that we should focus on is the idea itself. What is my idea? What makes it unique? And how can I test it? Because in most cases, 90+% of the cases, every idea will fail. So if we spend a lot of time, which is our biggest and most important resources, and it's very scarce for us, or money on an idea that will fail, we will not become successful in our startup journey. So the first thing that we should focus is on the idea itself. And we want to make it to a place that we call a product market fit. I will talk about it in few minutes. We have an idea and we think it's great, but we don't know it's great. Some founders make this mistake that they say, we know our idea is great, but even the most experienced founders who are launching, for example, their third startup, they don't know anything about their newest startup, about their new idea. It's not definitive. And your past experiences means nothing on the new journey. So we have an idea that we think it's great. We think it works. So we have to test it first. And there are different methods to test it. One of the methods that we talk about it in a Startup 101 is the method that we call Lean Canvas, which is basically a piece of paper that you put your idea inside it. How you put your idea inside it? So basically, in a piece of paper, you map out your idea. Who is your customers? What is my revenue channels? What is my business model? What is the problem that I'm solving? What is the solution that I'm offering? Who are my competitors? What are my marketing channels? And very importantly, what is my unique value proposition? Why should people change from a competitor, from an alternative, and use my solution? And why should they pay money to me? What should they pay me for the solution? Why my solution is so much better than other competitors, and that they cannot copy it, they cannot work with it, and they cannot basically compete with it. All of these questions, which we talk about it in a Startup 101 extensively, are the most important questions that you should consider before doing anything with the idea. So up until this moment that we talked about having an idea and putting on a piece of paper. No development, no design, no registering a company, nothing, because we don't know our idea will work or not. The point for this practice is that when you put your idea on the table, you can instantly see what is lacking. And all ideas, without question, all of them, 100%, lack something. So maybe my idea is great, but there is no way I can make any money out of it. There is no way I can define a business model that some person will pay me money for my solution. Maybe my idea is exactly like something that someone else already is doing, and they have a lot of resources and I have nothing. So how can I compete with them? Maybe my idea has a very, very, very small customer segment. So even if I'm successful, I have like 100 customers, best case. So again, I cannot make any money out of it. When you put all pieces of the puzzles of your idea on the paper, you can see the big picture. What is working? What is not working? And if it's not working, it doesn't mean you throw out the idea. It means that you have to tweak it. You have to tweak it until it works. I have a lot of competitors. What can I change? I don't have a business model. What can I change? and it will change and evolve your idea to an idea that could work. Again, up until now, even if on the piece of paper everything's work, the idea is not successful. It means that the idea is not doomed to fail. If it's not working on a piece of paper, it's doomed to fail always. But if it's work on paper, it might work on the real world as well. So we can talk about that. With doing that practice, that we can find the whole explanation. I won't go through all of the system of Lean Canvas, business model Canvas, and the different practices and examples here. When you work on that, you can see what is the main strong point of our ideas. What is the main thing that makes our idea work, and what is the main thing that makes it fail? What is basically the threats to our ideas? What is our weak points, and what is our strong points that we can emphasize? Let me share with you a few examples of what I mean by this, because this is very important when you start. I'm emphasizing that up until this point, we are just talking about the idea and try to clarify our idea to ourselves. There is no team member, there is no product, there is no development, there is no company registration, nothing at this point. First, it should make sense before we start working on our ideas. So let's see an example here. For example, I want to start with an example that everyone knows. Let me share my screen here. Awesome. So if you go to the startup pitch, Lean Canvas, you can see the whole education of this canvas that I talked to, and you can practice while you're doing it as well with all of different examples. One of the examples that I want to share with you is Deliveroo example, a very big company, and they have a Lean Canvas that they shared. And in this Lean Canvas, they explain the problem that they're trying to solve here. They explain the problem, they explain the solution, and they explain how they basically measure their success. What are their KPIs? For example, for a delivery company, delivered orders and number of deliveries that are on time and not late are the most important KPIs. So very easy to understand. As we move from left to the right side, it gets harder and harder. You see, we call about problem, we call about alternatives. There are alternatives. And if you cannot find any alternative, it means that you are not looking hard enough. There is always an alternative. We have a company called Miro. It's a whiteboard. It's an online whiteboard. And a piece of paper is one of their biggest competitors because people can do it on their own on a piece of paper. So anything can be your alternative. It's not necessarily an online business. It can be just a piece of paper. Anything can be. KPIs are easy. Solution is relatively easy. And we come to unique value proposition, which is very important because it says basically what is unique about our idea. What makes us unique? What is the key differentiator from our idea and every other competitor in the market? Why should people choose and switch from its existing idea to something like our idea? And it should be very clear. And not every startup has this from the start, but they should try to find their unique value proposition. And it will change. It will change a lot of time, but they can find it. The unfair advantage is, again, a very hard one. Many startups don't have any unfair advantage, which means which is unique to me. It can be a patent, a different partnership, a kind of something that gives you an edge in the competition. And many successful startups don't even have anything like that. But if you do, you can make it, put it here, and that can define your unique value proposition because you can take advantage of your unfair advantage and make a unique value proposition in that area. The channels are channels that you basically promote your product. It's not always SEO, paid advertisement. We have different channels. For us, for example, one of the unique channels that we use is creating our community of no-code developers. One of our example, which is unique for our product, but not so much for others that they can use something like that. Customer segments, which is usually felt wrong, is who is exactly our customers. It's not all the people of earth, it's not all women, it's not, for example, all students. It should be very, very, very niche, a very small group that you want to start with, and the ultimate group that you grow into it. So it should be a segment, basically, a customer segment, a very specific group that you think, because of your unique value proposition, because they have this problem, your solution makes sense for them. And then we go to a cost structure. What are your costs? Does that make sense to even start a business like that? And your revenue streams. We have different templates here, different examples, so you can take advantage of that. Great. That was the first thing. Now, I assume that our ideas work and we don't have any problem on the paper. It worked on the paper, we are happy with it. And if we show someone else, for example, a colleague or a mentor or someone else, they're happy with it too. They say, oh, okay, it's a great idea, and doesn't find any bugs. Usually, it takes 6 or 7 tries when you practice something with the idea to make it bug-free, because there is always a bug, and there is no way people spend that much money on that solution. There is no way you can get that customer segment without any advertisement, anything that might throw down the idea. But we assume everything goes well. What's the next step? The next step of the startup is starting small. Starting small means a few different things. It means that we have a hypothesis that our idea works, and we work with it, and we did market research on it, and we saw that it has potential. We talked with customers. We talk with them. They like it. They need it. They are willing to pay for it. So there is a market. We have a business model on paper that works. Great. So what is the next step? The next step is starting small. Starting small means that you create a very, very small version of the product that you want to basically sell. Very small version. What we call minimum viable product, MVP. MVP means that what is the smallest version of your product that is actually working, that is actually solving that problem. It's a solution. So a good example of MVP and in real life is if your product is a car and you want to ultimately create a car for transportation, your MVP would be a bicycle. It gets the job done. It transports people, but it's not as fast, it's not as comfortable, it's not as efficient, and it's not a car, but it works. But what is not an MVP is a car that has 3, for example, wheels. It doesn't do a transportation. And that's a big pitfall, because many startup founders, when it comes to MVP, they are actually creating a car with 3 wheels. They are actually creating a very expensive version of the product, but it's not working. It doesn't solve any problem. Instead of starting something small, for example, instead of creating a cabin for the passengers so the rain won't fall on them, they focus on transportation and get that done, and then they focus on everything else. They focus on the wrong features, on the features that maybe some of your customers want, maybe some of your customers won't. It's not your value proposition. It's nice to have. It will give you more customers, but it's not necessary for a start. And why? What I mean by a start? It means that you want to start with very small, specific group of customers. We talked about it, the niche market. And that niche market is very small. It's not your end customer. It's just a segment of your customers. And you want to start with them so you can penetrate them and get them easier than any other channel. For them, you have to create an MVP, a product that works first and it's applicable for them, only for them, no one else, only for them. So you can test your hypothesis, test the hypothesis if my idea works. So for MVP to work, it should be very, very small, but it should be working. It should not have a great design or great scalability or infrastructure or in technical microservices, different things, nothing. It should just work and get the job done for the customer. And when you get your first 10 customers, it means it worked. If you cannot get those 10 customers, those 10 early adopters that are willing to pay for your product, willing to work with you on the larger scale, it means the idea, the hypothesis that we had doesn't work. And we have to go back to the market research, go back to the paper, and stop developing the MVP. Many startups fail exactly at this stage because they spend too much time and money on their MVP and they run out of money and patience and they fail. But if you keep your MVP small, you can release it faster. So your customers can join your system, join your platform, use your product faster, and give their feedback faster. And that's all there is. All of our startups are created based on feedback. It's not something that one person, for example, the founder say, okay, I want it that way. It's not. It's based on feedback. It's based on suggestions. It's based on how people use it, how customers are using that product, that the product changes. So when you create something as small, people give you a lot of feedback. I hate that part. I hate this part. I like that part. If that part changes to this or tweak it like that, I think that's a good idea. And those feedbacks will create your next version of the startup much, much faster and more applicable for your customers. That's who are you doing this for? You're creating that platform for your customers, for getting more customers. So why not base that on feedback? Creating an MVP is hard. Creating based on MVP means a lot of redoing small steps. But that's the best way every startup that we know succeeded so far. All the big names that you know started with a very different MVP and very bad products at the start. Founder of LinkedIn once said, even if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, that means you released it late. Speed defines startups. And how can startups create a speed is by focusing on a niche market, on a small market, on a specific set of features for their product because of that market, because that specific features are needed in that small niche market. And this focus gives them a speed, and that speed enables them to compete with bigger names that have a lot of things, a lot of features, a lot of money to throw on advertisement and SEO and everything else. That's the way that you can basically compete with a big player. The next step after MVP is creating based on feedback. In this stage, we call it customer success. So let me share another lesson here. And I want to show you a diagram. This is a diagram of a perfect startup. So a perfect startup start here with product launch. And when we say product launch, it's always a cycle from your first version MVP, the first beta, the first second beta, the third second beta, and creating on and iterating your system to creating your first public version. And when you enter here, the next step is customer success. You created a product, which we talked about. It's very small, very efficient, very specifically designed for a specific type of customers. And now you have to listen to that customer to see how they are using it, and how they are getting succeed with it. And what does that mean? It means that businesses, people are using your product for a purpose. And the sooner that they reach their goal, reach their purpose, they are more successful. That's why we like things that are faster. If I want to call someone and it's on a speed dial, is faster than manually dialing someone. So it's a customer success method. It's faster, I'm more happy, I save time, I save money. And all the startups are defined the same way. Each startup is into one of two categories. The first category, which is most of their startups, they reduce the cost for their customer. And when we say cost, it can be money, time, or any other resources. And most startups are doing exactly the same this. For example, in Formalu, we are reducing the cost of development for teams, for agencies, for SMEs, for enterprises, to reduce cost of developing a new internal tool, a new customer engagement tool, and everything like that, even creating something like a Startup 101. Reducing the cost. The cost means time, money, any other resources that we can basically create more efficient system out of it. The second group are the ones who are basically expanding the sales. For example, email marketing solutions. They are increasing the sales of the customers. So your startup is put to one of these two categories. You're either reducing the cost for your customers, or you're increasing the sales for your customers, increasing their revenues. And you have to choose which one is that. And once you chose, that means your customer success. If I reduce the cost of creating an application in Formalu, if I reduced it from, for example, taking a team 1 month to create an application like this to 1 day, my customer is more successful, they are happy, they stay with us. If I took that 1 day down even further and take it, for example, 1 hour, and took it down 2 minutes, took it down 30 seconds, my customer is more successful, that means I am more successful. So more customer success means more sales, and again, under product launch. And it means what features I need for the next version. What should I basically prioritize? What makes my customer more successful? And based on that feedback, based on that need, I create a product roadmap. A product roadmap shows exactly what our customers need and what should be prioritized when creating the next version of our product. And that's why it's the most important to start small, because the things that make our customers successful, the things that we should put on our roadmap, are very different from the things that we think our customers want, from the things that we think should be a priority. When we talk to our customers, it's a completely different set of features. And based on the success of our customers, we can define the most prioritized features, what we should work on. And we work on that, create a new product, which means our customers are more successful, which translates to sales. And that should be a vision of product for every successful startup. And all of the successful startups that you see every day create something exactly like that. Based on feedback, based on success, create new version, launch it, test it, iterate it, change it, based on modify it, based on the feedback, and continue. And that creates a sales machine without any need for example, huge offices or a lot of paid advertisement. You see, it's a self-serving machine. Great. So based on this customer success, I can make the next version of my product. And as you can see, it's out of our hand. It's out of the founder's hand what happens to that product. Now, if the product is working on paper and it's working on real life with the MVP, with customer acquisition, and it has a lot of customers, now the customers are the king and they can define the next version of the startup. And that makes every startup that we know more successful. And that's why a lot of big startups fail in this stage because they forget that the customer is the king. That's why, for example, Nokia failed. Nokia in 2007, the year that iPhone was launched, they hit 1 billion customers with a B. So it's a lot of customers. No one in the history of cell phones still reached that number. And 1 billion customers they had. But they forget that the customers were the king. They forget to listen to the feedback, what people wanted, and how their customer will be more successful by using their basically products, cell phones, other products that they had. And the contrary, iPhone launched with exactly this, nothing else. What people exactly wanted. They wanted to take pictures of themselves. They wanted to be able to touch, to be able to write, to be able to draw, and more importantly, they wanted a power of computer inside their own pocket. They wanted that. That makes them successful. That made everyone a photographer. That made everyone a video editor. That made everyone a content artist. That made everyone to be able to edit music, to create presentations, and a lot of other things. That means the customer success. They won the market. Nokia lost the market, and a company that was 150 years old by then failed. The customers is always right. Awesome. So that's on how you to launch your startup. The next item that we want to talk about is that we talked a lot on MVP. We talked a lot on starting small. We talked a lot on these important points. But in today's world, when we have to do a lot of things to create our startups, how can we do that? Really, for example, when we launch our startup, everyone expects that we have a ticketing system. We should have a CRM. We should manage our tasks, manage our projects, manage our development, and we should do all of that. And we should get leads from our wait lists, from our blog posts. We should get to know our customers, generate leads, capture prospects, and manage all of that in our CRMs, call them, talk with them, get their feedback. We should do a survey to get the feedback of our customers. We should create a roadmap, and we should do all of that as a startup. So isn't that on the contrary of starting a small? Yeah, it is. But we have to do that because it is expected of every startup that is launched to do all the essential part of a startup. So how can startups do that? They don't have enough money, they don't have enough resources, and most importantly, we don't have enough time to do all of these together. If you want to buy all of these softwares and all of these basically platforms, for example, a CRM, a project management tool, a lead generation system, a marketing automation system, we should basically spend thousands of dollars a month on an idea that might not work. And worse than that, even if that works, it means that we have to change our solution very, very fast. A CRM that is created for a startup that has 15 customers is very different with a CRM that is created for a startup that has thousands of customers. So are we doomed to create and use systems that we should change every couple of months and pay thousands of dollars? No. We can do something better. We can leverage the part that makes startups great, which is disruption, basically, which is to embrace this speed of change. And we can use that by creating our own solution without any resources. So one of the advice that I give a lot of startups is to create their own solution with minimum resources. For example, instead of trying to understand how can I use Salesforce for our CRM, which is a big solution for a small startup and doesn't work for a small startup and it's expensive. And most importantly, it's not tailor-made for our startup. We should create our own with minimal resources. So that's where no-code tools come to the startup world. Instead of developing our own website from scratch, why shouldn't we use a website builder, a CMS like WordPress, Webflow, to create our startup's website? It will change our launch date from a couple of months to trying to create a website to a couple of days. We can even use a template, not start from scratch, not paying any designers or developers, and we can do it our own. Second example, we want to do advertisement, very small amount to test the market, or we want to just create wait lists, launches, ProductHunt launches, anything like that. And we need landing pages. Should we develop these landing pages our own, or should we use a service that develop landing pages and have great designs instead? For example, you can create a landing page in Framer or Instapage or Webflow or WordPress, for example, in matter of minutes, really just choosing from the templates, putting your data, putting your content and image, and you're done. And it takes a fraction of the time and cost. Right now, in today's world, more than 80% of all the websites that you have seen is created with no code. Just one example is WordPress that powers 43% of all the websites in the world. And there are many more platforms. More than 60%, I think it's now 65% of all the mobile applications that you have seen are created with no code. There is no developer involved. And you can create your own mobile applications without coding as well. We have great platforms like Bubble, like App Annie, different things that you can use to create your own mobile applications. So why not embrace those? Why should we pay for creating a mobile applications that we can do ourselves without any money or any coding in matter of minutes, for that matter, or days instead of months? And we can create our own CRM. For example, every startup needs their own CRM. Every startup needs their own customer portal, their own ticketing system, their own project management tool. And you can create all of these with Formally. And you can create all of these in a matter of minutes. Again, we have templates for all of that. Just click it, make it your own, customize it, put all of your data, import it, and you're good to go. So why should we pay for different systems and the system that is not designed for us to make our workflows efficient? We can basically, with the help of Formally, you can create, for example, your whole marketing automation. For example, you are using MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, Drip, or any other platform to do your marketing, And all of your leads are inside your formal databases because they filled a form in your website, used a chatbot made by formal or something else. You can put all of that together and not do anything else. These will reduce the cost and reduce the time of development for your business significantly. Another example is, why should we create integrations with other platforms that we want to work with? Because every platform today has to work with something. Fintech startups have to work with accounting startups or a Stripe or something else. Healthcare startups should have integrations with insurance companies. Anything that you create have to have integration with something else. But instead of creating all of our integrations, why shouldn't we use integration platforms, for example, Zapier or Make or Pabbly or Integrately or different platforms that we have today? We can use those and leverage on that to create our whole workflow and automate our processes. This way, we can use the no-code solutions to leverage our business and get ahead of our competitors. And instead of spending thousands of months, if you have, for example, a WordPress, a Zapier, or Make, a Formalu, and, for example, Active Campaign, you are spending instead of 2,000-3,000 a month, like 200 a month, 100 a month even. So that makes it more efficient, and that helps you to not only save costs, but change and tweak your custom-made solutions to make it grow as your business grows. Now, for this part, I want to give the podium back to Nush, so she can show you how you can create these kind of solutions and the essential parts of your startup, for example, lead generation form, chatbots, custom CRMs, and customer portals, for example, membership-only portals, without any time necessary right inside formally.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Farah, for the introduction and also going through how entrepreneurs can launch their startups and the details on that. So, as I said before, we've launched the Startup 101 app on ProductHunt, and you can check it out. And it's live today, so you can go through the lessons. And I want to show you how it works and how you can create one for yourself. So let me share my tab. So as you see here, the Startup 101 app is a folder in the Formula dashboard, and you can use the template for yourself, and it will create the same folder for you, and you can see different lessons, different formulas created, and you can change it based on your requirements. And if I click on this formula that is the app, I will see the whole application, and by clicking on the public view, the public view of the app opens for me. So yeah, and as you see here, it has different menu items, and I can edit them and I can change them however my lessons goes. For example, if you don't want to create a startup application necessarily, you can just edit the app and remove these items, or you can get back to the whole folder and edit these lessons. So for example, by right-clicking on this one, which was the first item in the menu, and clicking Edit, I can see the whole lessons. Each of them are created in a section field, so I can edit them. So this is an error for the image file, and I should change the image format because the image format is not supported. and you can create different sections and include your lessons, and also you can create a customer satisfaction field, use the CSAT or customer satisfaction field to ask the person who is learning how they feel so far, and if they like the lesson and if it was useful for them. So this is an example of the first lesson, and as you see in the first, when you open up the the Startup 101 app, the link is on the chats. I left it in the chat area. You can click on the Product Hunt link and open the app from there. And if you open the application, it shows a video at the left right side of the application. And that video was added to this form, which is the first form at the menu. And it was added in the settings tab of my Formulu. So if you go to the settings tab and check this part, I've added a script that is for my video section. So you can put it in the custom.js box, and it will automatically load your video when you open the application. Let me show you again. So if I go back to my folder, open the application, here you see that this video opens.
Thank you for joining us.
And your audience can watch the video beforehand. Or you can embed your video inside your form. For example, let's say I want to edit the form again. So this was the first form in my app. And you can use the video field here. So you can drag it and drop it into your editor, and you can embed your YouTube video or Vimeo video inside this field and show it to your users. And there are various fields you can use in your education application, and also different, you can create quizzes. For example, if you create a quiz, you can shuffle your questions, and also you have various options to make it more engaging, like shuffling the questions so the students don't cheat, basically. Or you can use the notification tab to send emails to yourself and get notified whenever someone submits your quiz. And also there's logic. This is the application. It has different lessons, and if I go to the application, here you can add more lessons by editing the app here. And if you click on Add Page, you can choose from any of your formulas that you have on your dashboard, and you can gather them basically inside one application, and you can choose between different types of data. So you can choose to show the form, which is chosen here. So when you choose the form, it will show the form. So you can choose to show just text-based content to teach something, or you can ask some questions, for example, some quizzes, and you can create a database or a bank of different forms, different pages, different learning materials inside one application, and you can use different data blocks. So you can use tables, charts, advanced charts, and Kanban and grid so far. We will add more view types in future and in our upcoming updates. So these are basically how you can gather all of your data in one place. So the Startup 101 application right now has these lessons for the startups. So it has idea, team, product, and also it has a unicorn leaderboard. And these are the courses, and we will update the courses frequently so you can learn more and you can go through different lessons. And as you see here, this is just the single step form that has different sections, and you can include your lessons in one page. And the first one was a multi-step form, but it had all sections. Great, so I wanted to show you how this works. The next step is the app settings on which we have enabled the portal mode. So with the portal mode, people can sign up to your portal and log in and be able to access their data inside your portal. And right now it works this way. So you can restrict access to the different pages. So currently, the portal mode works with restricting access to the pages. But in the upcoming features, we will enable you to restrict access to the data rows as well. So, for example, when you create a portal for your students or for your audience, your customers, you can show each user their own data, and the data will be private, and nobody will have access to each other's data, and they will only see their own data. So that's in the upcoming update of our portal mode, but right now you can edit the access to each of these, and you can manage who can access which part. For example, in this table, if you click on the settings tab, you can say who can view this menu item and how they can access it. So, and yep. And also, when you create a portal, you will have a users tab, and by clicking on it, you will see the users. You can import your users, you can manage your users, and create different access levels. So then in the pages, you can define what access level can access which part of the application. So by completing this feature, your users will be able to access only a part of the data, not the whole data. So this is the ultimate idea. And with Formulu, you can manage your forms, you can collect your forms, and instead of exporting your forms, then organizing it somewhere else, you can organize it at the same place, or sync it with different tools and organize it in different tools and automate your workflow. So the options are infinite, and you can choose how to organize your data and how to leverage your data. So you can create different formulas to collect different data or show different data, and each formula can have an application on it. If I click on this formula, for example, it was a form for showing the data, but it also has some responses, and I can see the results and charts, and I can build an application on it. So each formula has the capacity to become an application itself. But we have created this one here, and this is the Startup 101 application, which includes all of the links and all of the pages to our application. And you can also include links to different pages in your menu, so your audience can go to those pages. And it's directly connected to the page, the URL. So yeah, this is the details of how you can create a Startup 101 application yourself. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. And I'll invite Farouk to come back on stage, and let's see your questions. Or if Farouk has anything to add, we can go through that.
Awesome. Thank you, Nush. So you saw that we can create anything from your customer portals to your contact forms to your surveys for market research to custom CRMs, a dashboard KPI, a dashboard for your KPIs and anything like that with Formalo. So you can create a tool set for your startup right inside Formalo. A good news for a lot of startup founders there is that Formalo, same as Microsoft and same as Notion, Miro, Mixpanel, and other platforms, participate in an initiative for startup founders. And we offer $1,000 credit for every startup that wants to create their toolset inside Formalo. So you can apply for that credit right away, and once approved you have $1,000 credit, so you can manage all of your team inside Formalo and basically spend nothing on your no-code solutions. Great. So we have a lot of questions, and I will basically answer all of the questions that is asked in different platforms. We have a stand platform, we have ProductHunt, we have a YouTube, we have Twitter, and we have Reddit that people ask questions. I will answer all of that. Sorry for mix and matching the questions. It might you ask it first, but since we are using different platforms, we will answer all of questions for sure, but not first. And we do platform by platform. The first question in Stan. So it is, congrats on the launch, guys. What is the motivation for you personally to launch a Startup 101? So personally for me is that one of the things that really hurt me is when I see that great teams, brilliant teams, awesome teams that have done everything right, they're experts, and they have a killer idea. They have a great idea that has a lot of potential. So a great team with a great idea, and they fail. So when I see that, it does hurt me. And that's because they're not doing the startup principles. They're not doing the first things that is applicable for startups, and they are doing all the wrong things. But they are great. And when they join other teams, they perform perfectly. And if some other team do that idea, they perform perfectly. So when I see great teams with great ideas fail, that's why I created the Startup 101. That's the main reason that this is essential for every founder to learn. This is the principles of starting, and after that, growing the startup. What are the to-dos and what not to do, so basically in the startup world? What should we focus on, and what should not be in our peer view? For example, spending a lot on legals, creating company registrations, waiting for patents to be approved, creating a big product when you have no customers, raising money too soon, and going after VCs. These are all red flags in startups. And a lot of great teams fall into these pitfalls. So that's the goal of a Startup 101. First, help with the fundamental of launching that startup, and then help entrepreneurs to basically grow that to the next level with the help of mentors, with the help of community of entrepreneurs, with the help of courses, and sharing the experience of each other. Great. So the next question. I'm seeing the list. And you can send the list, send your question in the chat here as well if you have any last minute questions. Great. So I want to know about go-to-market process. What can be the best strategy for a platform with a two-side customer base like Uber? So Two-side marketplaces are one of the most difficult um, ideas in a startup world. But for go-to-market process, we talked about it a little bit, and we want to explain a little bit more here. So the best go-to-market process is the fastest one. So you can basically choose a very niche market and just focus on that. That is the go-to-market strategy. With, for example, a great startup started with focusing only on dental clinics in Los Angeles. That's it. So they were a healthcare solution for not only dentists, but for any healthcare institution. But with focusing on that, they created features that are very interesting for dentists. For example, scanning insurance records for different, for example, teeth and everything like that, that help them gain momentum, that help them gain a few first customers. For example, when a Slack launched, which is a big, monster software right now, which was, I think it's $30 billion valuation. When a Slack launched, they started with a small startups in Silicon Valley, only that. And they personally went and installed a Slack on their computer. So they installed it and watched them, basically how they use it. So they can learn from their customers and see what is the aha moment, what is the things that people like about Slack, and what are the things that people say, okay, what is this? And I don't like that, and they try to fix it and fix it. So they personally went and installed it and monitored their customers. And the way that they could have done that is by focusing only on a place that they were, on a startups that they were their friends. So that's the go-to-market strategy that everyone should embrace. On a two-side marketplace ideas, a lot of ideas very popular in accelerators. We see it a lot in startups that they want to start are marketplace ideas. Something like Uber, where you have customers, for example, passengers, and vendors, which is in this case, drivers. So the go-to-market strategy for marketplace ideas is a little bit harder. Why? Because we have something called chicken and egg problem. The chicken and egg problem says, okay, in every marketplace, there are two sides, maybe three, but let's focus on two. In every marketplace, there are two sides. And for example, in case of Uber, if the customers, which are the passengers, only go to an app where there are a lot of drivers. Nobody likes a Uber rival that doesn't have enough drivers. So passengers only go to an application that has a lot of drivers. On the other hand, the drivers would work for an application like Uber that has a lot of passengers already. If they are not getting enough rides, they are not making enough money, and they leave that application. That's why most of the Uber rivals of Uber failed, because they couldn't solve this chicken and egg problem. So every marketplace should focus on one of these things. A great example to solving that is to, again, starting a small. For example, instead of one of the things that Uber did as well, instead of working with every driver that they can get, they start with very, very small group. For example, when Uber started, they were a luxury system, and they started by hiring, not working as an individual contractor, but hiring drivers that work 24/7 for them, for their system. And by having those drivers, they got a lot of passengers. And after a while that they had enough passengers, they opened it to the public and said, okay, now you can become our driver. So by keeping things small, that solved it. that meant that Uber couldn't, for example, launch in all the cities they wanted. They started with one city and one region in that city. We can talk about it later. But that solved their problem. So focusing on a small, getting a curated, basically number of vendors, and then get the customers, get enough customers, and open it to the public and grow and grow. So that's the best go-to-market strategy. Again, even in these examples, the marketplace ideas need a lot of capital, because how you can get those customers in, so how you can hire those vendors, they have to have a high level of quality, otherwise you are basically garnishing your brand. So that requires a lot of resources, and not everyone should start a marketplace idea or a B2C idea, because they require a lot of capital to get it off the ground. Great. So let's move to the next question. I will open the other one. We can start with questions of here as well. I will basically answer questions on the stack-based module. So Kate asked, which is better to target in your startup, to increase sales or to reduce the costs? Basically, this moment defines your startup. So you cannot be both and you cannot be either. So you have to choose, and that basically define your product, define your business model. It's not that it's better than other thing, but it's one way or another. It cannot be both. Many startups that fail try to be both. We increase your sales and reduce your costs at the same time. Doesn't work. If you are increasing the sales and revenues for your customers, you can get a cut. Why not? And your customers are getting more revenues. They can pay you more. So more revenues you generate for them, you can get paid more. Great. If you are reducing the cost on another hand, you have to really focus on reducing the cost more and more every day, because as your customers grow, their costs grow with them. So basically, what we want to do is to basically reduce their costs more and more every day. So you are more efficient, and as their costs grow, you're reducing more amount of money for them, so they pay you more. So it's a very, very correlated together. But you should focus only on one of these two things. You cannot do both at the same time. Many startups fail to do that, and in their business model, they say, okay, we can do both. We can promote and reduce their costs at the same time. Doesn't work. Most businesses are not interested in both, because for a startup to work, they have to be this value proposition should be their target focus, and they should be laser focused on this and spend 100% of their time to try to improve that. It's not one better than the other. Just that you have to see what is your value proposition. What can you do better? Great. Can we create landing pages with Formalu? Yes, you can. So creating landing pages with Formalu is getting actually more popular. And we are not a landing page builder. I would suggest using, for example, Framer or Instapage, for example. They have a lot of templates. But if you want to create a landing page with lead generation system already in place, Formalu is a better option, because you can embed your forms, embed your CRM, embed your chatbot inside Formalu. You can create chatbots with Formalu right now and have it all together. Also, if you want to create private and public landing pages at the same time, for example, for customer portals, for educational app like Startup 101, I would suggest Formalu as well, because you can create membership-only portals and put some stuff for the public. So, for example, some pages are open to the public, and exclusive content are only reserved for people who sign up. So I would suggest in that case, use Formalu. Great. Can you say anything about the relational aspect of Formalu? How to use it as a database manager? So, great question. So, Formalu at its core is a database, and it's a relational database. So, you can create different tables and different databases inside Formalu and connect it together, work with it. So, anything that you do in Formalu, basically you are creating a database or a table inside that database. So basically you have a central database for your business when you are working with Formalu. And you can look up data and work with data, filter it, basically send query with it, and everything without any coding, of course, inside Formalu when you're trying to work and create applications. All of this is done automatically. So you don't have to think about it. You just have to plug and play everything together. For example, when you're creating your CRM, and we have templates for that, so you don't have to start from scratch. And your template has a company table. So it's list of all companies that you work, and it has a lookup field inside it that lookup data from another table that you have, which is your customers table. So you can look up data of your customers and point it to the companies. For example, customer A is pointed at company X, and they work there and you're in touch with them. So very, very easy to do and very automatic. So you don't have to think about it or how it's connected. Just filter it, work with it, change your system, and work with lookup fields or tables or Kanbans to basically connect data together. Any drag and drop would work. One of the things that I would suggest is that, for example, a lot of businesses that work with Formalu, they have already their customer base somewhere. For example, in their own CRM or in a spreadsheet, something, Google Sheet, Airtable, this kind of platforms. And you can import all of that inside Formalu and even keep it synced. It's not only import, you can sync it. So if something changes in Formalu, it changes there. And if something changes there, it changes in Formalu. So you can have a synced CRM inside Formalu. Check out our import function and a two-way sync function that we have. How to generate the application in the APK format. So every application that you create with Formalu is already ready to be created in the APK format. If you check our SDK section, you can go to the basically our SDK and generate the application inside Android Studio. For APK, you want to create the Android version. It's already done. Just add the SDK and point it to your application that is created in Formalu, and it will generate all the code for you. There are sample codes on how to do that, and also a step-by-step on how to do that inside our SDK page. So you have it already. If you don't have a development team who is familiar with Android Studio, that is fine as well. Contact our customer success team, and we will help you with creating the API version. The API version is also white label and signed for yourself, so you can put it on your own Google Play, Amazon, or your own website. Can you speak again about the $1,000 credit you mentioned? Yeah. So if you go to our website, in the footer, you see a page for startups, and you can apply for our startup credit. Same as startup credit systems with our partners, we have a few criteria. For example, you have to be less than 2 years old for your startups, raise less than $1 million, and less than 50 team members. If all of these are applicable for you and your startup should be launched, you get your startup credit right away, and you can start using that to adding all of your team members, using our pro version, even enterprise version, and start using Formalu. So just fill out that form. Our team will contact you, approve your startup, and you're good to go. For generating report. So a simple software for generating report. Two things I can mention. If you're generating reports based on your data of your customers, or for example, your startup, for example, the KPIs, the basically the indicators that you are tracking, or your customer data, your audience data, I would suggest Formalo. So you can create a dashboard, a customizable dashboard, and you can only create reports that you want. For example, hide the items that you don't want to show, hide the connect databases together to create advanced reports, to create advanced chart or simple charts, and put all of your data together in different pages, and even manage access levels of those pages. For example, some of your reports might be for higher management, some of the reports could be for middle management, and some of the reports could be open to every one of your employees. So you can do all of that and these dynamic dashboards inside Formalu, and all of the data, because it's already in your database, it's automatically live. So it's a live dashboard that every time someone opens it, it's basically gives the latest version. Everyone can collaborate with it. If you want to report for something else, for example, mathematical solutions, I would suggest using Google Data Studio. That's good. And if something is for example, events that is happening in your startup, I would suggest Mixpanel or Microsoft Power BI for creating reports, but they require coding. Awesome. I think we answered all of the questions, but I'm checking just, oh, there is another one. Can we mix custom code into formal apps, get location using GPS, for instance? Yes, basically in the formal applications, you can create your own custom codes. It can be JS codes, it can be location-based codes. You can use our SDK to add new codes, or you can even create and integrate other APIs. So all of that, yes. Check out our SDK, custom JS, custom CSS system, our webhook, our API, and basically our builder. Awesome. Great. Thank you, everyone. I think I answered all of the questions. I hope I didn't miss anything, but if I missed something, I will answer it publicly in a Startup 101, so you can have the answers in an AMA section. And if you have other questions, you can ask there. Me and other mentors can answer all of those questions for you. And I hope you have a great your startup journey, and we see your startup grow all the way. And if we can help in any small way, I'm always happy to help. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Medium, and as always on a Startup 101. And thank you very much to giving me your time and listening to talking about starting startups. And I hope you are having a great day. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.